with the biggest population and the most number of cases in Metro Manila, was able to increase treatment, there are still pockets of outbreaks in areas that remain special lockdown. How will Quezon City war against COVID-19? We discuss in this episode of the CHIEFS. Well, this is a special edition of the CHIEFS. With me right now is Roy Alampay of One News. Good evening, Roy.
Mukhang tayo lang.
Oo nga eh. What's the headline nagpapakain ng dyaryo kanina? What's the headline?
Marami. Marami. But let's start off with something na hindi naman yung shootout sa loob.
Oo nga.
Medyo magandang sundan yung development because the police is now officially acknowledging there was no shootout. Remember yesterday, may namatay na mga medalo, ang initial agad ng police was this was a shootout. The military obviously did not well, at least they wanted a proper investigation. The military also initially were immediately to call it a whitewash. Now the police mukhang hindi talaga shoot.
The mission counter.
No, hindi siya mission counter, and they're saying hindi shoot in the sense that hindi nakabaril yung mga sundalo. It was from the side of the police. But despite that, heard spokesperson for the PNP, Banak, General, that nonetheless they still believe, that's still their theory, na una pumunot yung mga sundalo pero hindi nakabaril. So they're calling it a shootout, no? But they're calling it a shoot, but definitely they're not calling it a shootout anymore.
Oo nga. So abang ka ba kagabi? Hindi ba medyo late yung ni Presidente kagabi, no? Yung announcement na naman. So EQ pa rin tayo.
EQ ang Cebu.
At siguro ipasok na natin yung guest natin because we will be talking about preparations for ongoing responses. So welcome, Quezon City Mayor Joy Ponte.
Hello, good evening, Annie, and good evening, Robbie.
Good evening, Mayor.
Yes. Okay, na namin that you are in charge of the biggest, the most populous in the Philippines, and sa umpisa were also among the first to impose lockdown. What's the situation now in the city? Ang dami din yung informal stores, the most crowded. What's the situation?
Oo nga, Annie, actually, I feel a lot more confident now with our figures kasi bagamat we are the big city, most populated city, and sa kabuuan, in terms of absolute numbers, we still have the second most number of cases. Still, with things in perspective, pag halimbawa, tingnan natin sa medical perspective, which is number of cases per number of cases per 100,000. Is actually only the 13th in the Philippines and 9th in Metro Manila, no? Which is not good already. And we have more recovery than the average in the NCR region, 60% recoveries and 30% active cases. That's much higher in terms of recovery in Metro Manila and much lower in terms of active cases in Metro Manila as well, no? So okay naman. At ngayon, nung inaaral ko na datos namin, nakikita ko we call cruise control. Hindi na siya tumataas. Steady lang siya. Pero of course, ang ideal situation is bumaba siya. No? At least this shows that the strategy that we have adopted is working, and we are continuing to implement this strategy we have.
Ma'am, what specific indicators would you like to start to indicate na yan, mukhang you're flattening the curve? What indicators are we measured by?
Sa lahat, yung rate of increase ay nag-slow down. It came out in the papers. This was a study by UP, so it's an independent study. And kahit na at nagtetest tayo na nagtetest, ay nakikita naman na when we test, the numbers go up, but there is a very strong correlation. I would say a one is one correlation between the aggressive testing and the percentage ng pagtaas. So, makikita naman na yung the testing directly impacts on the increase in numbers, no? So, maganda yon actually sa testing in the right cases, no? At maganda yung indication yon, no? Pangalawa, mababa na yung sinasabi kanina ni Ami, barangay has 1 case. Ngayon, we have 7 barangays, 0 ang cases. 18, sabi natin may 10 and above. There are moderate, no? Meaning, below 10 cases. So, tingin ko, magandang indication din yan. Katulad na nabanggit, bilis ng recoveries natin. Pero, lagi sabi ng mga health professionals that you always see if the city is prepared by looking at yung kanilang capacity to deal with critical cases. And in our case, we have about 150 COVID beds in our 3 hospitals. Pero yung 60% lang ng mga ito ay occupied, which is good. Tapos, facilities na we have about 409 beds and maybe about 70% of these beds are occupied. So, that means that may space pa tayo. Wag naman dumami, pero we are doing okay in Quezon City.
How many are on special concern lockdown? That's the term sa Quezon City na iba-iba kasi yung tawag. Sa ngayon, how many places, areas, sitios are on special concern lockdown?
So, Annie, this is a strategy that I think we need to Quezon City. Like I always say, this is a health crisis, not a peace and order crisis. So therefore, we must follow what doctors tell us, our CESU, not what PNP or the army tell us about what should be locked down. So ang ginawa po ng doktor ang at ang ginawa niya, hanap po sila ng mga lugar po sila ng community transmission or kung saan nakikita natin ng crowding. At ito yung mga in-identify areas na ila-lockdown. We always hear lockdowns that last 1 weekend or 1 or 2 days. Dito sa amin, it's 4 days talaga ang lockdown because that is the period of time it takes for a virus to go out its course. No? We started with 13 lockdown areas and now we only have 6 lockdown areas in 5 barangays. And when I talk about a lockdown area, I'm talking about a barangay, I'm talking about a compound, maybe a small area with at least maybe 200, 300 families, minsan 50, 25. Pero ang ginagawa namin, as soon as we lock down, we do extensive testing kung kaya natin i-test yung buong population, test na natin sila. Pag may indication na positive, rapid test, yun ang unang ginagawa. Hiwalay agad, swab test ka agad, at hindi na namin pinapagintang bullet kanilang tahanan. At kung yung buong community down, yung buong community talaga na yan ay hindi na napahintulutan kung lumabas. So yan ang tinatawag ng hard lockdown. No? And siguro yung challenge lang dyan is the local government must maintain to stay in the community to make sure that all needs are met, pangangailangan nila ay maibigay natin para hindi naman sila maging restless, no? Because magiging problem naman yan.
Ma'am, thinking back, I mean, everybody's trying to look for patterns, everybody's trying to look for trends, or at least look for where you found clustering. Is there anything or common characteristics to areas you found nagkaroon ng clustering, or iba-iba yan bawat lugar?
Tanong yan, Robbie, kasi this was just a subject that I called this afternoon. No? Alam mo dati, nung nagsimula ang COVID, kita ko na yung pattern ay naandun sa gated subdivisions o kaya gated households. So, yan ay indikasyon ay sakit ng mga kaya, siguro by. Pero yun, ang nakikita natin ay ang karamihan ng mga kaso natin ay andun na sa depressed or poor areas. No? At doon na nakikita yung communication. Nakikita natin yan sa alam natin na sa urban areas, napakalapit ng mga bahay sa isa't isa. Sinabi mong stay at home, hirap mag-stay at home kasi ang liit-liit ng kanilang no? Kaya naiintindihan ko rin kung bakit may tension dyan. Pero isa sa napagmasdan ko, pag ini-interview natin ang isang community na atin pong lockdown, pansin ko, number one, nila ay nag-inuma or nagtagalan, share ng isang baso. So yan, talagang pato yan. That is almost in all these cases that we've seen. Meron akong isang barangay na isang lugar na ni-lockdown yung isang budal fight at inimbita niya buong kapitbahayan niya at sila ay nag-share pagkain, lahat sila nag-share, no? So, nagkakaraoke, meron nagpapati, no? May nagbabasketball. So, a lot of these things are actually not in the under a quarantine setup. And so, nagpatawag ako ng sa lahat ito, tingin ko maiwasan kung pantay lang talaga ang barangay. At siguro hindi itong mga klaseng mga bagay. And so, tomorrow, magkakaroon ako ng malawak pagtitipon-tipon sa mga punong barangay at iba pang opisyal para sabihin na it is time to really enforce the law. Kasi meron po tayo sa dito na magtanggal ng mask. Hindi ka nakamask. Because ayon sa mga 60% of transmission can be avoided if everyone just wore a mask. Pero syempre, nagpa-basketball, nagpa-party, wala silang suot na. And of course, group assemblies as well, no, na pinagbawalan hanggang ngayon. So, that is the pattern that I see, Robin.
Ma'am, if I may just, ibang kinuwento nyo, I want to ask, how recent was that? I mean, yung nagtagay, nag-party, nag-basketball pa, these were things that we probably experienced, we probably did in the early days of the crisis. Pero kung recent pa lang yan, what would be your attitude when you talk to your captains? It's imagine that this is just a matter of them being lax, it's a matter of just them not knowing, being alert enough. What do you think at a certain point? Na kung nangyayari pa rin yan, parang medyo may active participation sa barangay.
Tingin ko, Rob, kasi nagiging confusing eh. Sinabi mong ECQ, napaka-lingwa na lahat bawal. When I went around, I did actually the advice of all the members, but it is just something I like to do. Ako, at kita ko naman na sumusunod naman sila, natatakot talaga sila. Sinabi mong ECQ, no? Nung nag-MECQ, pero nung sinabing GCQ, tapos napakaraming pinapayagan ng magtrabaho, pinapayagan ng si Lola para bumili ng mga essentials, si 21 envelope, pwede kung trabaho o kaya gumagawa rin ng mga essential tasks, ano. Marami sa ating mga officials actually thought to do things, play basketball, go drinking, if natin yung liquor back. Akala nila that's already allowed to gather together and drink in public. And now it's time to remind them, hindi yan ang sabihin ng GCQ. GCQ is just something that is more related to the economy. It's to allow the economy to start moving, but it does not mean the quarantine is lifted. And that's something I think to remind them about.
National government announced this afternoon na papel na daw yung mga jeepneys by Friday. Is this a cause of concern for still trying to combat the pandemic in certain lockdown areas? Or are you preparing measures na hindi magiging ito ng pagkalit ng infection?
Well, siyempre, nung sinabing magkakaroon tayo ng transport, source of concern ito sa akin, lalo nung sinabing may bus, may tricycle, etc. So, ngayon, papayagan na ang jeep of the cost of concern for me dahil magkaharap ang mga tao sa jeep, no? At magkalapit sila. Pero tingin ko, with the proper social distancing measures at maging secure lang naman tayo habang nabo-board jeep ang mga tao at may loading area, we will be able to make this work. We actually that or transitioning to GCQ would disaster us here in the NCR region, but actually hindi. Tumaas ng konti incidences natin, but we managed to cope. Yung healthcare system natin that we were now overburdened. So tingin ko, rather than have thousands of GP drivers jobless and their families on the hunger, baka naman pwede natin sigagan with the proper precautionary measures. So it's worth it, and we will try to do that as much as we can.
Ma'am, beyond payagan ng mga jeepney drivers to have the option na ulit, are there programs to support the jeepney drivers, especially now, a lot don't, even with that option, don't want to go out, precisely because kahit masada sila, wala rin mga pasahero. So beyond giving them that freedom and that option, what programs does the city have to actively support movement whatsoever?
Well, the transport sector is a sector that's very important for every city. And simula pa lang, Rob, naglunsad na isang programang tinatawag namin Kalingang QC, kung saan nagbigay kami ng or cash assistance sa ating mga transport sector members. So, kasama dyan yung jeepney, yung taxi, yung TODA, yung buses, no? So this was our way of them. Then nung nalaman na sila papayag po pumasada when others were already being allowed, we gave additional assistance them in terms of food, no? Pero yung napakaganda namin nagawa is we were able to partner move. In fact, we were partnered with kung saan ang ating mga jeepney drivers ay magiging taga-deliver na ng mga goods. At present, we have several hundreds already jeepney drivers that are part of this program. Very successful. One was interviewed recently on television when he used to make a small amount of money. He now makes about 1,500 pesos. Nakatulong ito. And we're also looking towards other alternative modes of employment for them, of doing emergency employment. That's labor intensive for some of our other district workers. And at the moment, I think we are the first city as well that is launching a stimulus package for the micro and sector. No? So we're trying our best to make sure that our small businessmen, our small our employees and our business owners, as well as cooperatives, are given the opportunity to sustain themselves during this crisis period.
Yes, I want to ask about that for SMEs. It 700 million, medyo malaki-laki yun. Are there sectors that are priorities for this funding for SMEs?
Yes, actually, there's a set of criteria that have already been crafted. Pero ang gist of the program is that it will subsidize the wages of workers in micro and small enterprises. Naman lahat ng kakayanin ng ating may criteria talaga kailangan nilang tuparin. Pero by subsidizing 50% of the wages, we hope that will not go out of business. And these potential employed people will still have jobs to go to and bring home to the family. Doing the math, I think 700 million, while it's a large amount, it's a good investment because it's an investment in our economy and it's an investment in our future. And it's something that we are willing to do for the people of our city.
Now, out of those SMEs, the food industry, of them are in retail. How do you strike a balance between, on one hand, still cautioning people, encouraging social distancing, and for that, limiting the economic activity? How do you balance that with the need to revive economic activity, especially in the city and having areas where people really converge, really good restaurants, really good bars, a lot of night spots, a lot of malls, and so on. So how do you strike that balance?
Well, first of all, Robbie, we are a city that is always OCI. So I made sure that as soon as yung announcement ng Pangulo na ito yung status natin, GCQ or ECQ, ito yung hindi natin papayagan. Suwa pa tayo in addition to national government guidelines para mas stricto pa i-enforce ng mga precautionary measures, no? Lalong-lalo no, pertaining to social distancing, wearing, disinfecting, cleanliness, hygiene, etc. No? So, we have very strict measures concerning that. We have mandated every single establishment to have a public safety officer or health officer that makes that all of these measures are in place. We require them to have a testing plan because we want to make sure na kung meron man may kahit konting Thomas lamang na sa kanilang mga ano ang dapat nila We work very closely with them. Our phone numbers of our health departments are in every establishment. They can call us anytime. We will come and give them advice or take away that employee and bring that employee to a facility na necessary. No? So, ganyan kapit sa ating mga negosyante. At ganyan kami to ensure to follow all of these protocols. Pero, I think one of the good things that we've done is teams as well, no? Of our BP personnel, our Department of Public Order personnel, our tourism industry personnel, they go around randomly to check on various establishments to make sure these protocols are being followed. And our surprise visits, I find this very effective kasi laging on their mga establishments, they're afraid na sila ng mga penalties kung sakaling sila ay lumalabag sa mga iba't ibang mga protocols that we have.
Your city is also home to a lot of universities, educational institutes, all time, no? Is the city ready for the upcoming school year? That's 24 already. Maraming local government units, sabi nila, hindi hindi makaya yung mga requirements for blended learning.
Alam mo, for me, wala naman siguro government unit na masabing handang-handa sila kasi first time and is experiencing. But para sa akin, I'd rather be positive rather than negative in the sense that I want to make sure lahat ng kakayanin namin ibigay sa sector na maibigay talaga namin because this is such an important sector for especially. So, I have actually allocated 9 billion, no? Or passed a budget of 2.9 billion to take care of the educational needs of school children. And we, again, putting things in perspective, just number of school children at 450,000 school children. So, junior school students should be receiving tablets with internet. So this is bundled with internet providers, no? And we have allocated 1.3 billion for this. About 175,000 junior high school students. Diba naman, yung kinder to grade 6, they will be having modules. We are going to be providing them with all the needs to make these modules available to them as they need, no? Sa teachers naman nila, magkakaroon ng activity sa mga schools. At we will be providing about 20 laptops to every school so that teachers can use these to get their lesson plans, no? So, we work very closely with the ed. We try to anticipate potential problems. We do dry runs para habang maaga pa yung mga identify natin at sa panahon, at least yung mga solution natin, ma-anticipate na natin ay agad na natin matutugunan. In the area naman, Robbie, because we have a university, this is the university, we will be providing laptops to our college students. Again, a big investment. Pero siguro, ang tingin ko nga, this is the time for this is the digital age, this is the age of automation, etc. So maybe we had to take for us to realize that we have to provide these gadgets to children for them to catch up with the rest of the world. No? So I want to see active light.
Ma'am, we have to ask because we asked it of all the mayors that we have to ask it also. Frankly, I have a lot of friends pestering me to ask it of the mayor, and we see a lot of people clamoring for this. What is Quezon City's plans for biking?
That's a nice question. I have to answer that question. I am an environmentalist. And Quezon City is part of a global network of big cities, G40. That is committed towards climate change action. No? And even before COVID started, we had already made a commitment globally to implement bike. So napadali lang kasi pinaplano natin a couple of kilometers every year, pero ngayon I decided na lahat yan gawin in my first term. So 161 kilometers of ang pinapako nating implementahin dito sa ating lungsod. Phase 1 is dividing into next time. Phase 1 will include elliptical, Quezon Avenue, and 5 already existing bike lanes, but are not in global standards. So now we will make them globally competitive in the sense that they have the proper images, proper marking, and safety measures. So that's phase 1. And phase 2 includes the rest of the city. Basically, it's a network of interconnected bike lanes na loop, hindi na yung nagbabike toll. Kailangan lahat ngayon konektado na natin. No? So, the end of my first term, yung 160 kilometers na yan will be filled already. That's that I'm already always prepared this to happen.
Okay. Now, before we go to break, we're running out. But before we go to break, we'll let this be the final question to you. Tells us, look, this is the first time for the whole. This is the first time for everybody, and we've now been in this crisis for more than 100. We're now in our 4 months of lockdown. Knowing what you know now and knowing what you've learned now, if you had to do it over again, what are some learnings that you would say to yourself? You know, if I knew if I knew then, these are some things that I could probably done differently.
Well, I would have acted more swiftly. Maybe kung unang kaso pa lang, pangalawang kaso pa lang, siguro tayo ng state of emergency para magamit natin yung pondo, emergency funds city, yung quick response towards more preventive measures. Kasi I think prevention is really here. No? I would have already mandated everybody to start wearing masks, for example, no? Because now I know that wearing is so effective in preventing this disease from spreading. I would already have undertaken a massive campaign towards social distancing. I would already have told everybody washing your hands. Let's putting facilities in all of our schools, all of our public places. You know, so these preventive measures I would have done much earlier had I known what I know now. But in hindsight, I think while we started pretty soon, as other mayors also, we were taken surprise. I think that now we're doing much better and we're more calm, and we are very confident in the strategy we've adopted. We've seen it working. So while we probably started slowly, we're catching up now, and I think that we're going to be flattening the curve, but actually increasing the numbers very soon if we continue with what we're doing now.
Mayor, more power, and we'd like to thank the City Mayor Joy for joining us. Thank you, Mayor. Good night, and we'll just pause
Thank you, Robbie, and thank you, Annie. God bless everyone, please.
for a break. Don't go. We will be back.
mindset. And then we want to make the, I mean, if when we design a building or a house, the approach is an old approach, then of course we have to add a lot of features that will make the building or the house costly. But if the
Mm.
approach at the onset is different, for example, in the housing, in the socializing market, the approach should be different from the very beginning in terms of finding the right location, in terms of using the right materials, in terms of increasing the ventilation, and so in the
Mm.
design stage. Also using, for example, special films to be applied to the window. So there are many things that that can make a house, even socialized economic house, very effective in terms of reducing the environmental impact.
Mm.
I know that even if there are some developers already in that space that are providing solar panels and other kind of features. I think this will become mainstream. This will grow, above all after this experience of the COVID. There is,
Yes.
in our experience, for example, in Italpinas, we have been positively impressed to see that sales of our unit didn't decrease, actually increased. So it means that people during this pandemic realize how important it is to live and to invest and have our family to live in an environment that is healthier. And green
Mm.
buildings or greenhouse healthier.
I was going to ask architect, how can architecture or how can design have helped to prevent COVID? Or for that matter, looking forward, how can design and architecture help to build safer homes, safer buildings, safer communities?
I think everyone learned a lot from what happened and what is still ongoing. As architects, we learn the lessons and we understand that we have to consider when we design our structure that a situation like this one can happen again. So how can we mitigate the negative effect that this lockdown and this pandemic brought? Obviously, we need to think about, I don't like to call it social distance. I prefer to call it personal distance because it's not social. Actually, sociality
Mm.
shouldn't be affected. On top of that, we need to consider again increasing as much as possible the natural ventilation of the units because
Mm.
natural air and natural light can help to reduce the spread of the virus. Again, there are studies saying that the sun can kill the virus in a few seconds, I think. And so having access to natural light can help.
Mm. Mm.
Also, connectivity is also very important because, again,
Mm.
assuming there will be another lockdown, we all know that we need to be connected. So, for example, in the Philippines, I have to say that no one talks about how good the network system work in the Philippines because can you imagine how many people during the lockdown were using the network and the
Mm.
network was stable. I didn't hear anybody say, "Oh, this worked very well." But in
Mm.
general, people always complain. The same in Italy. But but I would like to see people also appreciate how good was
Mm.
to live that period with a good connection. So these are some of the
Mm.
things we learn.
Yeah.
Try to manage personal distance, increase ventilation, natural light, and connection. And also, sorry, last one, proximity to malls and grocery because as we all experienced, it was not easy to do grocery
Mm.
and to access
Mm.
basic needs.
Yeah, but architect, I was actually going to ask about that because as you said, you mentioned our conversation with Mayor Joy Belmonte of Quezon City. You're an architect. We understand that. Of course, architects, as they do, also think as urban developers and as urban planners. We know you have that side in you as well. As more local governments and as more governments pour their plans and their resources into building new infrastructure, improving infrastructure, whether it's stopgap or for the long term, would you say is the opportunity for them to redesign our cities right now? What would you suggest that cities look at in terms of our roads, our streets, the mobility of people, and so on?
I think one very important aspect is to decongest the mega city. So let's talk about Metro Manila. So I heard that now there is a plan called Balik Provincia, for example. But even apart from this plan of trying to develop other cities in other locations, not Metro Manila, I think it would help already a lot. So from my point of view, infrastructure are very much needed in emerging cities in the Philippines, so that Philippines can become sooner rather than later a multipolar countries with several cities which several cities that have importance, so that in such a way that if something happens, for example, in Metro Manila, other cities can contribute to the growth of the country. Because just today I heard an interview where I heard that around 60% of the GDP of the Philippines is produced in Calabarzon area and Metro Manila. So you can imagine if that area would stop for several months, what happened to the country? So I think this is, from my personal point of view, a target, a goal that the Philippines should always take in mind. Try to develop emerging location in the Philippines. I mean, it's an archipelago. There are more than 7,000 islands, and there are many cities that need more infrastructure. Having said that, I think it's very important, again, to reduce traffic, because it looks like from recent study that smog pollution also help the virus to spread faster. This comes from Italy, where we have in a place in Lombardia, close to Milan, we had very many cases, and it looks like the smog and the pollution help the virus to spread. So if we can reduce, of course, traffic, and if we can increase connectivity, speed of the internet connectivity, and things like that. But again, to me, the most important thing would be the multipolar concept of developing the Philippines, and I think this government is going there. I think that's what I'm reading.
Well, we've been talking about decongesting Metro Manila and even Calabarzon for a long time, relocating all these businesses. But for the short term, what can be doable for the short term? You can see a lot of things being tried during this pandemic. How can we take advantage of the quarantines? Because they're experimenting with transportation, for example. Where else can we go to try and push for greener design, greener lifestyle during the pandemic? How can we take advantage of this?
I mean, I think that the lesson of the pandemic taught everyone to many things. I mean, we are still elaborating. I think it will be even in the future. For example, in the case of Luzon, there are going south and going north. I think it's going to be the trend of real estate and development in the near future. So again, decongesting Metro Manila towards, I don't know, going to Batangas and going to Clark and Subi, where also there is land, and there are already connection, because there are highways going south and going north. I know also they are now connecting South Luzon to North Luzon Expressway, so to access the north is going to be easier. So I frankly think that there was already, before the pandemic, a process of decongesting Metro Manila, going south and going north, and also investing in infrastructure in the provinces. In also other locations apart from Luzon. I'm talking about Visayas and Mindanao. I think that this process will accelerate. So again, where you ask me where can we go, I mean, I think outside the mega city, because congestion, many people in a small place, it's very easy to understand, will not be good for virus protection, because the contamination will be faster. But again, to answer your question, I would say going south and going north. For example, I can talk about our company. We decided to go and to develop in Santo Tomas, in Batangas. which is only 45 minutes from here, and it's all highway, and we have a very good market response. So it's, people is ready. People is ready. It's ready to go outside Metro Manila if they can access Metro Manila easier. Just to make an example, easier for myself that I live in Makati to drive to Santo Tomas, which I will spend 45 minutes, then going to Quezon City. That maybe it will require maybe 2 hours. So what I'm saying is, we need to switch the way we think. Time of movement is not anymore related to distance, but to the way we can get in a certain place. Again, Santo Tomas is farther than Quezon City, but I can reach Tomas faster than Quezon City.
Yeah.
So
Architect, I want to, I want to take on your concept for this multipolar approach. We've had many guests here, urban development experts, and so on. And I know that there is that debate between building vertically in the city that is already an engine for jobs and development versus sprawl, which am I taking that the wrong way? That multipolar principle or approach that you're espousing is in essence encouraging sprawl. Because we've spoken with some urban development experts that are also saying, no, horizontal is not the way to go. The way to go is to build vertically and to make the most of the fact that people are already in the cities precisely because the jobs are in the cities.
But okay, we talk about cities now. We are talking about Metro Manila that, as of today, I think has maybe 14 million people. This is already a mega city, a megalopoly. Okay, it's a huge number of people. But we have other cities, like, for example, Cagayan de Oro was maybe 1,500,000 people living there. It's already a big city. Maybe if we compare it to Manila, it's more. But if we compare it, for example, with any city, apart from that, of course, in the past, there was a very aggressive migration in the Philippines. I'm talking from provinces to Metro Manila, because in the provinces there were no opportunities. It was very costly to fly. It was not like today. Maybe 4 years ago, it was very expensive. On top of that, there was no internet connection. So it means that when you were in the province, you were really in the province, in a remote area where maybe even news arrived, I don't know how many days after Metro Manila. Usually it's not anymore like that. So now you can live in Cagayan de Oro like you live in Metro Manila. If you have internet, you have access to the same information. If you want to go to Manila or any other city, you can fly very easily and very cheap. And there are growing opportunities. And you have also to consider that, for example, many OFWs that are not from Metro Manila but from the Visayas or from Mindanao, they are investing in the Philippines, and they would love to invest from the city where they are from. In fact, this is also something that is happening, and I have to be proud that Italpinas, was ahead of the curve. That if we develop in an emerging cities, like, again, I can say Cagayan because we are there, but we can mention many others. You will see that OFWs will invest there and will eventually go there and bringing investment, bringing money, bringing opportunities to work. Also, the BPOs started to relocate their office outside Metro Manila. They started in surrounding areas in Metro Manila, then they started to go in the Visayas and in Mindanao. So what I'm saying is, development goes where infrastructure are. If the infrastructure will move towards in emerging cities in the Philippines, we can be sure that there will be more jobs, there will be more people moving from the mega city to the province.
Okay.
That's my thought.
Yeah.
Architect, apart from the pandemic, we are entering monsoon season. This is a land, you've been here for a decade, you know that this is a land of natural calamities, earthquakes, floods, mudslides. How can you apply green architecture concepts to disaster resilience?
Okay. Actually, yes, Philippines is prone to many calamities, but is also very capable to respond to them. because of the history, no? So it is nothing new. A typhoon is not something new for the Philippines. An earthquake is not new for the Philippines, and floods as well. So in terms of green architecture, what I think is very important is, for a moment, let's forget about green architecture. Let's think about building smart, thinking before we build something. So I wouldn't suggest anyone to build a building or a house in a place that a proof history of floods, because it must the chances that the flood will repeat are higher, no? Correct? Because there is already records of that. In terms of typhoon, there are studies that can be done during the design stage, and we do that can simulate the a very high speed wind speed, and understand how buildings behave according to this strong wind. So in general, when there are typhoons, a building can stand quite well. I think in the Philippines the problem is the informal settlers that most of the time have problems in withstanding typhoons. In terms of earthquakes, same story. I mean, there is a long tradition in the Philippine construction industry that make building very well done. Actually, when people asked me just a few days ago, they asked me, "What do you think about the Philippine way of building buildings and houses in terms of in case of earthquake?" I have to say, and I am a developer, so I have experience. Philippines build very nice structure. I mean, it's already embedded in the culture of the Filipino to build very strong structure, reinforced concrete, able to stand major calamity in terms of earthquake. In fact, even it was like last April. I mean, it was 2019. There was a quite big earthquake in Metro Manila. I think it was 6.5 or 5.6, something big. I mean, there were some damages, but nothing major. If something like that would happen, sorry to say, in my country, the damages and the people that may could have been hurt, could have casualty would have been much bigger. So what I'm saying is, let's also see the positive side. Philippines knows how to build structure in a proper way, but of course, as you said, we have to be very careful, always thinking about typhoon, earthquake, and floods.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, unfortunately, that's all very interesting, and unfortunately, we've run out of time. Architect Romulo Donati, Executive Chairman and CEO
Thank you very much.
of Pinas. Thank you for joining the Chiefs.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, sir.
Good
Yes.
evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and that's a wrap for tonight. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. That'll be all for this edition of the Chiefs. We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. I'm Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star.
I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News.